Even if you do everything right, accidents still happen. It's not a perfect world, and nobody is perfect. That's why it's important for you to know what to do should you become exposed to pesticides or see somebody else who has.
How would I know if I've been exposed to pesticides?
There are several ways to determine if you've been exposed to pesticides. You may not feel sick or feel any different at all, but you're sure that you've been accidentally exposed. In that case, tell a supervisor immediately. Don't wait. Or maybe it's the exact opposite. Maybe your symptoms don't appear immediately and you don't remember being exposed. But now, several hours later, you are not feeling well. You might feel nauseous or dizzy, have a runny nose, or experience breathing difficulty. You may begin to feel sick or your eyes, skin, or throat hurt. If you have any combination of the symptoms just listed, tell your supervisor. He'll help you get medical assistance if you need it.
What if I get sick and I think it is pesticide exposure?
If you get sick at work, medical information can be found on the pesticide safety poster in a central location on the farm. Know where to find this information as well as the nearest phone.
If you or another person has been poisoned by a pesticide, get medical assistance right away. If you're not sure what the emergency phone number is, where the telephones are, or the fastest way to find a supervisor, find out now. Don't wait for an emergency to happen and lose precious time when seconds count. First, call a poison center, 911, or local emergency number, or a doctor. Have a copy of the pesticide label, and if you don't have the label, try to get the EPA registration number or the exact name of the pesticide. First aid instructions are also on the label. If you can't reach help, or it will be a while before help can come, follow the first aid instructions on the label. If a pesticide gets on you, get it off right away. 1. Take off clothing that has pesticide on it. 2. Rinse skin right away with water. 3. Wash with soap and water as soon as possible. Eye damage can happen fast. If a pesticide gets in your eye, hold it open and rinse with a gentle stream of cool water. Rinse for 15 minutes if possible. Try not to contaminate the other eye if it was not exposed, then go to a doctor. The most important thing to do if something like this happens is to get help as quickly as possible. Acting quickly can save a life, but you have to do the right thing. For example, if someone swallowed a pesticide, you need to find out what it was so you can check the label to determine if it's okay to make them throw up. With some pesticides, making the person throw up will cause more harm than good.
What if I see someone else who's been poisoned?
That can happen. For instance, if a person is very careless, they can get sick. If you see someone like that and he's still conscious, try to find out what happened. If you find someone unconscious in a recently treated area, don't go in to help unless you have the proper protective equipment to enter. If not, you may be putting yourself in danger. Find a supervisor immediately or send a coworker for one. Remember, the only time you want to move him is if you can see there is serious danger in the area and you're properly protected. Only people trained to handle emergencies and who are properly protected to prevent exposure should go into a contaminated area to help an employee that has collapsed. When rescuing the person, grab his clothes and drag him out. Go to the doctor as soon as you can and take the label from the pesticide container. If you can't bring the label, try to get the EPA registration number or the exact name of the pesticide. Your boss will provide information about the pesticide. Your boss must give you or your doctor the name and medical information about the pesticide that might have made you sick. The most important thing you can do now is to know as much as possible about the pesticides that are used in the areas where you work. Don't be afraid to ask questions. For some of these pesticides, the concern is small exposures over a long time period, such as 10 to 20 years, which may cause long-term medical problems. This is called chronic toxicity. Again, this kind of information can be found on the material safety data sheet for the pesticide that's being used. If you don't know where to find this information, ask your supervisor. Also remember, if you've been working outside where it's hot and you're wearing protective clothing, you may not feel well because of heat stress. Heat stress symptoms can be confused for pesticide exposure. With heat stress, symptoms might include dry mouth and eyes, enlarged pupils, and fast heartbeat. You might notice some unusual swelling on your skin, or you may have felt weak with nausea, having a runny nose, or headache and blurred vision. The WPS is a standard that legally protects you by law, but many things you need are already available to you from your employer. You must have special training and personal protective equipment for some jobs. Without this training and protection, you must not be allowed to mix, load, apply, or handle pesticides, and work in an area where entry is restricted. Most of you will never need to wear any personal protective equipment while you work, but just in case you do, you need to know where it's kept, how to put it on, and how to wear it properly. First, this is a dust mask, which helps to keep you from breathing in small particles. This mask must fit tightly around your nose, mouth, and chin to protect you. Men with beards or mustaches might have trouble wearing it and getting proper protection. These are chemically resistant gloves. The most common way that people are exposed to pesticides is on the backs of the hands and forearms, which is why it's often necessary to wear the gloves. That's why it's also important to wear long sleeves whenever you're working during the pesticide application process or in recently treated areas. Even if special equipment is being used, such as gloves, you should always wear long sleeves. Save t-shirts for a more appropriate work situation.
And always remember, your most important protection isn't your clothing. It's right here, your own intelligence and common sense.
Another important provision of the WPS is the availability of proper single-use cleaning supplies for laborers. If you've been working in an area where pesticides were applied in the last 30 days, your employer will provide soap, water, and paper towels for you to get properly cleaned after work. These supplies allow you to be free from possible pesticide residue, and once you're finished, the paper towels are simply thrown away. These supplies must be available to you within a quarter mile of where the pesticides were applied. Pesticides can dry on crops as a powder. This powder is the residue. A residue can remain on a crop after spraying. One of the simplest but most effective ways you can protect yourself is to wash your hands as soon as you have the opportunity. Even when you're careful, some pesticide residue can be on equipment and still get on your hands. Always wash your hands before you eat. The chemicals can easily get from your hands to your food and from the food to your mouth. The same with cigarettes, chewing tobacco, or chewing gum. You probably won't see pesticide residue and probably won't know that you were exposed.